Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of Inside the Trojans Huddle from WeAreSC. It's a good week, guys. A very, very good week. We're going to talk a little bit about the Michigan game. I don't think that's going to surprise anybody. We're going to talk a little bit about the upcoming Notre Dame game, which is enormous. That probably won't surprise anybody. What might surprise you is that we're all smiling this week because I don't think any of us were all that sure that that's how it was going to play out. Now, maybe now everybody will say, no, I always knew. I didn't. I did not always know. Guys, let's start with this. I think we can probably agree, this is the best win of Lincoln Riley's tenure at USC. Anybody disagree with that?
No.
I mean, what are
Maybe,
the other?
maybe Notre Dame 2022. Like you win the Heisman
Yeah.
Trophy for Caleb Williams, maybe. But
Oh,
that didn't feel like the tipping point game that this one was. So I could go for sure two different directions there.
what
Season
was
one was just gravy, just extra gravy that we got with our meal. Nobody anticipated what we saw in 2022. I don't think anybody, and I don't think any of us did. So yeah, I'm with you guys.
I mean, the Notre Dame game at 22, what was nice about it, look, I think everybody expected that was a good Notre Dame team, not a great one. I think everybody expected USC would score points, and Caleb Williams went out and he did Superman, and they scored points. The nice thing about it is they did a reasonably good job against Notre Dame's running game. I don't think anybody expected that. But they didn't do the type of job against Notre Dame's running game that USC's defense did against Michigan this past week, right? I mean, this was the most complete game. And the crazy thing about it, guys, is it could have been worse, right? You take away that fumble inside the 15, you take away the spectacularly horrific, unbelievably bad interception, right? That's the worst interception you'll ever see in your life. You can watch football every hour for the next 80 years. You'll never see a worse pick than that one. Which, he's played amazingly, but that was horrific. And then you have the long pass when the only thing you can't do defensively is give up the long pass. You have all three of those, and it's still a 31-13 final. I mean, this could have been a lot worse than it was. Okay, let's talk about what went right. Let's start with, which is, most things. Let's start with offensively. Greg, I want to start with you. Did you see anything from USC's offense against Michigan that surprised you?
I think the only thing that surprised me, which maybe I shouldn't have been surprised, was how much Lincoln Riley was dedicated to running the ball, and especially as they were running the ball in a really truly balanced attack. It was refreshing for me, not refreshing for the Irish. I can guarantee you that. Uh, I think the thing that I was most pleased with was the offensive line. When you really consider that two starters were not in there and guys were moving around, and maybe the bottom line to all of it was just how much SC out physicaled Michigan. Now I'll say Michigan was hard hitting when they got an opportunity, one on one or so on and so forth. They really hammered whoever SC had the ball. However, in the pit on both sides of the ball, SC did what Notre Dame has been doing for a long time, and SC outdid them. It wasn't like, okay, it was even up. SC out hit them. And I think that in the end, as you pointed out correctly, that score was much and should have been much larger than the score indicated. And had SC not made those mistakes that you alluded to, it would have been, it should have been. And, the beauty of it all was a sellout crowd that was wild, a large contingent of super recruits and recruits that watched it all and their families. Everything that you wish could have gone right did go right, except for those other errors. And everyone left the Coliseum excited to think, I mean, realistically, SC's one field goal away from being undefeated. and being really strongly involved in the college football playoffs, which was they're still now strongly involved in it until they prove otherwise.
Yeah. So, Eric, I'm going to go to you next. We talked before the season. All of us said, if the offensive line can just be decent, if they can just be decent, this offense can be all right. And then the offensive line was opening up large holes and they were protecting Mailava week after week after week. And every time we said, okay, but let's wait until they play a real defense, a physical front seven, and then let's see. Okay, I think we can say it now. I'm willing to say it. You tell me if I'm wrong. USC actually has a good offensive line. And when Lincoln Riley in the offseason was telling us, actually, we feel good about that O-line. We think there's real depth there. We think there's talent there. We think it's a good group. We like our defensive line, and these guys are battling every day with those guys. And we all thought, yeah, okay. But here they are. You're without the guy that was supposed to be starting at left guard, and now you have an injury to your center. You have an injury to your left tackle, who's supposed to be the best guy on that O-line. He didn't play, and you go out against Michigan, which it may not be last year's D-line, but it's a good group. They were number 6 in the country in rushing. They shut everybody down, running the ball, and those guys go out and just hit them in the face. And have a third string back go for 158 in basically a half a play.
You wanted me to agree with you? You want me to tell you you're wrong about any of that?
Agree with me and expound as only you can.
So I think good, the word you use, good, right? I think that's perfect for it. Like they're good. They're good. There's still plays if you want to go and break it down. Did all 5 guys win every one-on-one battle? Are they mauling the other defensive line? Like there's stuff where it's like that guy got pushed back. That's not great. That's not whatever. But when last year you'd have one guy like a 0 on the play. Like one guy would just miss totally. Then you'd have a couple other guys who kind of got like 50-50 and it would just fall apart at times. This year you're getting almost no like zeros, and you're getting the guy who sort of messes up still does enough to be fine. And so that's where it's good. Like all 5 guys working together, there are so few plays where it's just like 3 guys got blown up and that was never going to do anything. And so I think that's what you're really seeing. I mean, at this point, you should just do if you want to drive fan attendance, like some random fan gets to be the 5th lineman for Zach Hanson, and he'll fix you up and get you out there and play with that group. Like what he's done with guys in, guys out. We talked about, or I talked about it this offseason. USC had unbelievable offensive line health last year. Like you don't get to have the same 5 starters go out there for every single game all year. And USC had the opportunity to do that during the regular season. Who knew what would happen, right? Oh yeah, but if Elijah Page goes down, right? Oh yeah, but if they have to do this, if they move around. It's been really good. It's been really good, and you can run behind that line. And if you're an offensive line who can run against everybody that you go up against, there's no other, you're good. You're good. Like that's the measuring stick for an offensive line. And I think that's where they are right now. Can you go run for 200 against Oregon? Can you go run for 200 at Notre Dame? Like we'll see on those. But yeah, the question marks about like, is Notre Dame going to hold them to negative rushing yards, right? Is Michigan going to destroy the game off the edge like they did last year? No. And there's got to be a lot of confidence with that offensive line right now. I think it's earned.
Yeah, Mark, when USC, I guess you could say promoted, going from tight end coach to offensive line coach is a promotion. When they promote Hanson, you say, okay, so yeah, I mean, it looks like he did a nice job at Tulsa, but he's a young guy. Nobody really knows who this guy is. Is this a cheap hire? Is this a hire because you love his wife? Is this right? Why is this the guy? I don't know, but it looks like this guy may be a rising star in the offensive line coaching world, Mark. I mean, he's done a heck of a job, hasn't he?
Kind of. I mean, if we're going to call Lincoln Riley a quarterback whisperer, uh, granted, it's Zach Hansen's first year at USC doing this, but you said he did a little bit of this. He showed what he's capable of doing at Tulsa. What's really getting lost in the weeds here is that might have been the best game of the season for USC's offensive line. And it's not just that, Elijah Page missed another game with an injury and Killian O'Connor missed the game with an injury. It's the lineup they trotted out there that had their best game. Tobias Raymond has been doing fabulous playing left guard. Well, guess what? You're playing left tackle today, young man. Justin, you're going to flip back over to the right tackle spot. And Jean-Ray Reed, we know you got center locked down this time. I mean, that was a completely different offensive line. Micah Banuelos did a great job at left guard. Alani Noah has been I want to say he's been perfect, but he's been a stalwart there at right guard all year. So you look at Zach Hansen and say, what are you doing, man? You got these guys, they're versatile. You can just plug in and play them, and they seem to be able to get the job done. So it's not just the coaching that he's done. It's wherever you need to put somebody, they're getting the job done. I mean, that's what impressed me so much about this game is Tobias Raymond is played great at left tackle. Maybe that might have been the best game at left tackle USC's seen in a while. And it was just across the line, the communication, the way they worked together, it really impressed me. Because again, this might not have been last year's Michigan defensive line. Still pretty good. And you didn't give up any sacks. And again, you open up the hole for King Miller to earn the Freshman Player of the Week honors in the big conference. You're doing something right. You're doing something.
Yeah. No, look, it's been very impressive. That doesn't mean that trips to South Bend and especially Oregon aren't going to be challenging, right? It's hard. It's easier to play at home than on the road when you have all the noise and the pass rushers have an advantage and all that stuff. So it doesn't mean those guys are going to go out and dominate in those games. But it kind of does mean, well, we'll talk about this more. It kind of does mean I'm looking at that game Saturday saying, you know what? I think they're going to be able to protect the quarterback. I think they're going to be able to run the ball. I think that offense is going to move up and down the field like they do every other week. And that's not something I necessarily would have expected to say about this upcoming game a month or two ago. So props to those guys. And by the way, let's talk about the craziest story in USC football in a long, long time. A walk-on redshirt freshman who every time he goes out breaks long runs. Like it's like you take a young Reggie Bush and stick him out there, except you know what? Reggie had less long runs in his first 6 games than King Miller does. It's an extraordinary story, and I don't know how long this can go on, but Eric, have you ever seen anything like it? I'm not sure I have.
No, it's crazy. You start looking at sort of where he ranks nationally and in USC history for that specific thing, right? Yards per carry, 30-yard runs, that sort of stuff. And it's like, you have 5 carries and you hit one of those, yeah, your yards per carry is 48 yards, every time. But he's at the point now where you're like, okay, now it's the highest in USC history for anyone with 20 career carries. Okay, now it's the highest for anyone with 40 career carries. Okay, now it's the high. I mean, he's at 10. He's averaging like 10 yards a carry this year. And again, it's okay. Missouri State, Georgia Southern, sure, but he's gonna go get one at Notre Dame. He's gonna go get one. There's a 40-yard run in him at Notre Dame. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's just the vision, the ability, all of that stuff just lends itself so well to kind of how he runs and works in this offense. And, is it going to get tough eventually if he's the number one guy week after week and you're taking hits like that and you got to be the 3rd and 2 short yardage guy all the time? Yeah, that's going to get tough. But you look at him play and I guarantee you, Michigan fans at the game that didn't have kind of the play-by-play or the history, none of them are going, I can't believe this walk-on's doing to us. That's a that looks like a USC running back to me. Like that's how he plays.
Like a good one. Yeah.
It's been really fun to watch him this year.
And Greg, the decisiveness that this guy runs with, right? I mean, when he sees a seam, he's just gone. And I don't know that he has Reggie Bush top end speed. I don't think he does. But his acceleration and his decisiveness are just remarkable. What have you seen from this kid that you like? Because I think every USC fan's watching him and saying, this is the one thing I never ever expected to see this year.
Well, I will say this. He's done everything that a great USC running back does. If we're going to be picky about it, you'd say that top end speed of Reggie Bush. But there are very few players that really have, quote, a top end speed. I was hoping the long run that he had would have gone for a touchdown. I think what I'm waiting to see is one, if I was Lincoln Riley, I'd put him on scholarship right now. It would be a big thing to him. It would be a big thing to the team. It would send out a message that they're really behind him. And I don't know what more you could add that he could do that he hasn't already done. The question I have, as I have with many players, and I think it's a legitimate question, is yes, Michigan was a big game and a sellout, national television, the whole thing. But he didn't start. He wasn't the center of attention to begin with. He was like, okay, you'll be one of the guys that'll get to carry the ball, but he wasn't the main focal point. When he goes into Notre Dame, as you well know, as you all well know, it is different. And when they center on a particular player of USC or any other team, that player knows it. And they hone in on him. And they will, I'll tell you right now, Notre Dame is not much different than USC when it comes to playoff hopes and all that other stuff because they're an independent. They already have 2 losses, and they are going to come and make a big statement. And is Miller prepared for that opposite atmosphere that he just was so successful in? Because they're going to be in his face like nobody's business. And if he can withstand that, my feeling is they've got a real keeper there. And I hope for his sake that Brian Jackson is ready to go in a really positive manner. Notre Dame and SC has always been a great game for the most part when SC has been presentable, so to speak. It appears they are presentable right now. The question is which team is going to show up at Notre Dame? Is it going to be the team that waxed Michigan, no questions asked, or is it going to be the team that made some mistakes and was literally out hit by Illinois? I think if SC is the team that's going to be physical like Michigan, and Miller's part of it, I think that Miller is going to. Let's face it, Sanders is gone for the season. We know that. We also, I will say it, even though that hasn't officially been said. Jordan is gone for the season. This 4 to 6 weeks, he'll be okay. Nobody gets back in 4 to 6 weeks. The schedule is longer than that, or shorter, depending on how you want to view it. So for Miller, this is to me his key game. If he can survive this and do what he's been doing, and the offensive line can give him the holes that he can get through, he could make another big statement on national TV. It's how he, in his head, deals with it. And that's why I think they should make him a scholarship player immediately.
Yeah. Well, Mark, we had another remarkably odd running back story Saturday also. I mean, I think this is the first time I've ever seen a guy who's not suited up for a game come in and ice the game with a touchdown run in the 4th quarter. I mean, what is going on here? None of this makes any sense. Brian Jackson can't play, turf toe, not suited up, not ready to go. And all of a sudden he's coming out and and he looked like he can move, and he looked like he's fine. We'll see after a week of practice. But Mark, B-Jack's pretty important at this point, isn't he? I mean, if you don't have him, I don't know what you do. So I want your prediction, Mark. One, is Jackson going to be ready to play Saturday? And two, what should we expect from him?
So I will answer your questions real quickly, though. I want to point this out about King Miller. I think, and I understand where Greg's coming from. However, think back to the opening kickoff. King Miller was back there. He took it a yard deep. You know, I kind of look at it and think, why is he doing this? He got to the 25-yard line, but it's not where he got to. It's how he finished the run. He literally lowered his shoulder and decleated the tackler on USC's sideline. So I don't think King Miller is concerned that much about all the attention he's going to be getting and the physicality. I totally get your point, Greg. He's going to be hit. He's going to be hit a lot because he's going to be carrying the ball a lot. But I don't think it's as overstated as that. King Miller is one of those guys that just give him the ball. He is not afraid of the opportunity, I guess is the best way to put it.
He doesn't seem to have any fear, does he?
No. To your question about Brian Jackson, I would still make him the number one running back. He apparently, according to Coach Riley, you know, the way he explained it after the game, he was medically cleared by the doctors. That's why they made the phone call at halftime. Hey, we got a situation. We know we put him on the out list. However, can we put him in uniform? Can he play? The answer was yes. We didn't get the whole story. Apparently, you got to pay a $5,000 fee for that. But if Brian Jackson was capable of playing last week, yes, Chris, he is going to be ready to play this week at Notre Dame. And I would imagine the running backs are going to be wearing a yellow no contact jersey this week during practice, just to be sure they're ready to play on Saturday in South Bend. What was the other part of your question regarding Brian Jackson?
No, that's what I really wanted to know. I mean, USC's in a position now where they have to have Brian Jackson. They have to hope they don't get either of the top two guys injured, and then you're hoping that Dalton or Wormley or somebody else can go.
Well, that's the real question: is who is the third running back this coming weekend? I'll throw it out there.
What are you doing, Mark? Are you busy?
Well, you know what? I'm not. But if Lincoln Riley will take me aside, I will suggest that let's give Husson Longstreet a handful of handoffs. Work him into the game somehow. We know when he has the ball in his hands, he can play, and he looks like a running back. So, you know, get creative with him. Somebody else, I think, mentioned the name Carson Tabarachi. He's got that, you know, he plays the H-back, so why not maybe use him in a fullback type of role?
I got a name for you, Mekhi Lemon.
Well, you already took him off a kickoff return.
I know. But
that, I mean, that's screen game.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying
those quick tunnel screens, that kind of stuff, like that's run game.
Yeah.
Maybe Pinnock Hines.
Yeah, I don't know, but
it's healthy. I'd say Prophet Brown, get back there. You did it in high school. You did it really well. I just don't know if he's going to be ready. He's not going to be ready. So,
all right. So let's talk about Jaden Mayava. And already look, it seems horrible of me to, when I bring up Jaden Mayava, to talk about that horrific pick. It was horrific. You cannot, under any circumstances, do that. But here's what's interesting about it. This was not like it wasn't like some of the awful decisions we saw from him last year, where it almost looked like he was scared and he was panicking. That wasn't a guy that was panicking. That was a guy that looks like he feels he can do whatever the heck he wants. That was an overconfidence play. That was a guy who decides, yeah, of course I can run full speed toward the sideline and just lob it over the guy's head, right? Is a terrible play. But that didn't look to me like a guy who was scared. That looked to me like a guy who thinks he's bulletproof now. There's some danger in that. But
yeah, I didn't see that.
Eric, is Jaden Mayava right now is playing as well as any of USC's Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks? True or false?
As any of them? So there's the different, like Caleb Williams is the one that I'll go back to. It's the most recent kind of in mind. Jaden Mayava is not making as many unbelievable individual plays, as Caleb Williams did. And those are what win the Heisman Trophy. They are. I mean, that in addition to your team being good and all of that sort of stuff. Jay Mayava is operating his team's offense as well as any of USC's Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks at this point. Yes, his confidence to get the ball out quickly, to throw it to almost always the right guy, make the right decisions, the ability that he has. I mean, some of the stuff to the tight ends down the middle, like the layering over under defenders, like it's remarkable. You're not seeing the, three-step drop, hold, evade two defenders, get out on the run, make a laser throw. He's not holding the ball that long. Like it's out. Snap, catch, step, out. And like that has to make Lincoln Riley sit there on the sideline and go, this is incredible. This is incredible that we can do this offensively. Like the USC offense, you look at the numbers, kind of where they rank nationally, all of that stuff. And after the first 2 weeks, you just thought, they're gonna come down, right? They're gonna come down. The offensive line is, we'll see. Jaden's not gonna do this well every single week. They're just kind of hanging there. Two nationally in yards per game, like scoring in every single quarter this season. Like it's been really unbelievable how he's done it, and the confidence. That's what stands out about what you're saying. Some of the interceptions last year were just kind of like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Throw. And I think this one looked, it's a bad play and you can't do it. It seemed like he saw Makai Lemon standing there, and it was one of those things where as he's letting it go, Makai is coming toward him. So like the miss feels even bigger than it would have been had like Makai stayed there. Whatever, however that played out, like kick that field. Hey, that's 3 points that you're just erasing. But I'll make a deal with him, right? You get one play like that every day if you play the rest of the snaps the way that you're playing, because USC is going to be very, very hard to beat if he keeps playing like this.
I mean, Greg, this was the other big question for the offense. We knew that Mayava was a big guy, had a good arm, he could make the throws. You knew he could do that because you saw it last year. What we didn't know is this a guy who's going to read the defense, get the ball out to the right guy, distribute it to what's a pretty good crew of skill players around him? That we didn't know. I know he hasn't had his two biggest challenges of the year. That's on the road at Notre Dame, on the road at Oregon. But so far, Greg, this looks like an elite college quarterback, and he looks like the guys that Lincoln Riley tends to roll out season after season, doesn't he?
Yeah, up to this point, I would agree with that. Again, as you pointed out, Oregon and Notre Dame are away games. I will still say this, as good as he has been. Well, one, I'm glad he threw the big interception to get that out of the way. Hopefully that's the last we see for a while, right? That he learned something from that. Just throw the ball away and play another war. I think that what's going to happen certainly this week is his ability to focus in on what he needs to do, not get carried away with the way things are in that environment. And you know as well as anybody, that is going to test you to the brink. And if he does make a mistake, is he able to write himself off? Lincoln Riley get in his ear and say, it's okay, we're okay, we can deal with it. That's what I'm not 100% sure that he's going to be able to keep that the rest of for that game. But I'm hopeful that he can do it. And at worst comes to worst, he's going to gain a lot of experience. If SC does win, hopefully they will. That's going to help them down the line that he went through this. I think he realizes the importance of the game. As far as this whole business about him being in a Heisman Trophy candidate, I understand where that comes from, but let's cut that out for a while. Let him keep playing. He doesn't need that pressure. It takes a certain level of accomplishments. He's getting there, but it's still kind of early. But I think that he's going to be tested in a way that his focus will be tested on Saturday for sure, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and I'm not suggesting he's going to win the Heisman, although the Heisman race seems to be wide open. But if you're going to win the Heisman, you have to show up at South Bend and Eugene, and you have to put up big numbers and win the games, right? And I don't know if he's going to do that or not, but the concern that a lot of us had, me included, that this is a guy who, if he has a clean pocket and he has open guys, he's going to hit him because he's talented. But man, I don't know if he has the decision making to do it. So far, so good. I mean, he has exceeded expectations probably as much as the offensive line has, and that's saying something. Mark, I want to talk about somebody else who has exceeded expectations on the offensive side, and that's Lincoln Riley. Last year, Lincoln Riley had some doubters, not only in the USC fan base, but with pundits who watch the games. He wouldn't commit to the run. The offense looked unexceptional, uninteresting. There was nothing about it. There were week after week, you look at it and say, man, I think the other offensive coordinator looked better than Lincoln Riley this week. That has not been the case this year. This looks like the guy that we thought we were getting from Oklahoma. The offense is keeping people on their toes. It's balanced. He's mixing it up. It's counters, it's screen passes, it's all kinds of stuff. And defenses don't yet know what to do with it. It's been pretty extraordinary, hasn't it?
It's been fantastic. I could probably count on one hand how many play calls I was upset with this year. The one that obviously stands out, and I'm maybe saying upset is the wrong way of describing it, but the whole 2-minute situation at Illinois at the end of the game. That's really the only thing that really, really stands out. We know that there's one side of the camp says score right away, others drain the clock. Regardless.
And even that's more of a head coaching decision than an offensive coordinator decision.
But his play calling, like you said, it's been fantastic. I mean, he's keeping the other defenses off balance. He's in love with the running game right now, which is great. The tight ends are involved, which we've been wondering where have they been for 3 years. Well, here they are. It's hard to question what he's doing right now with his play calling. I was one of those guys leading the parade. I think Lincoln Riley would be a better head coach if he relinquished play calling. He's making me eat crow right now, and I'm fine with that. And if he can leave South Bend with a win and the offense looks like they've looked so far this season, now you start, and again, we're maybe getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. Coach of the year?
He's going to need to make the playoff to do that, but
get past Notre Dame. He's riding a wave of momentum that, guess what?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Anything's possible this year. UCLA can beat Penn State. Indiana can go into Oregon and beat Oregon. James Franklin is now fired. Anything can happen this year.
I mean, Chris, when's the last time you've seen that Michigan defense, any Michigan defense, like out-gapped, out-schemed, just like on their heels the entire game?
Yeah, no, it was, probably when Rich Rodriguez was there, maybe, but and look,
that's self-inflicted more than I think someone else doing it to him.
No, but that's a good front seven that they have. They have good players there, and these are guys that have been raised in a program where they are tough and they're physical. They expect to give quarterbacks a hard time. We were hearing how the two edge guys were so dangerous, but they're not dangerous if you throw the ball after 2.3 seconds and get rid of it over and over and over again on time.
And he's being more creative with trick plays. He's been wide open. The one that got called back with Mekhi Lemon, perfectly executed, except for a guy being a yard downfield.
No, look, he's been great. And again, the two biggest challenges on the schedule are still ahead of us. But he's been great so far, and he looks like the guy that we thought we were getting. He looks like the guy who is in the top 5 in total yards and scoring and all that stuff year after year after year after year. And then last year it just falls apart and you think, oh man, what's going on? This is not what we signed up for. And then he takes an offensive line that everybody questioned and a quarterback that everybody questioned and has the best offense in the country right now statistically. Will that last? I don't know. Okay. Let's flip it to the other side. And by the way, before we flip it to the other side, can we just say how clutch it is when your second string kicker not only turns out to be a spectacular kicker, but you send him out there and say, okay, all the pressure in the world, can you hit this from 55, 54, 55? And he says, yeah, no problem. And just drains it. That guy's good.
The flip side of that, we talked about like what the Michigan game sort of means and the flip side of it, if we're talking about a loss and what the, like that play, the flip side of missing there, you give Michigan the ball like out close to midfield in that situation, like that was a big, that wasn't just 3 points, like that may have been 10,
Yeah.
at that point in the game, and where Michigan would take it. So that's, yeah, huge. And you could tell, I mean, you could tell how much Lincoln Riley loves that he's got a kicker like this year. Again, he's taught, they've tried kickers every year. Bring someone in, let's see, and to just have a guy who has been this reliable, right? Dennis Lynch missed a few that you're like, we can't miss those. Michael Lance even last year came in, missed a handful there. You just can't miss those. And so, yeah, for Lincoln Riley offense, where it's like, oh, 1 out of 8 drives or whatever, like we can't finish it off, go out, put 3 points up. I mean, you're getting a point now where outside of turnovers, you're scoring on like every competitive drive of the game.
What's his touchback percentage? It's got to be 97%, if not higher.
Yeah, no, he's been incredible. Okay, Greg. 2 weeks ago, we got on this show and we were all horrified by what we had just seen. And there were all the excuses out there, right? You had the early start, you had the food poisoning, you had whatever. But you watch that Illinois game and you watch a defensive line, a highly touted defensive line, coached by a guy who is supposed to be an elite coach, and they just got beat up the whole game. I know the coaches wanted to talk afterwards about how it was a slow start. It was not a slow start. They were getting their butts kicked at the end of the fourth quarter too. They just got dominated all week. And after watching that, it made me extraordinarily frightened for what's going to come the rest of the year. Greg, it wasn't a perfect defensive performance, but that defensive line showed something that they did not. I'll say it. They showed something I did not expect them to show Saturday. That defensive line fought and scrapped and outplayed Michigan, out-physicaled Michigan. Let's talk up the D-line. We were harsh on them 2 weeks ago when they deserved it. So, Greg, go ahead and talk good about them now that they deserve that.
Well, for who they played and the style of play, they were tremendous. There's no getting around it. They were tremendous. They were tremendous, in my opinion, because they played 4 quarters of physical football. It didn't hurt that Michigan lost their best running back, and maybe some argue one of the top 2 running backs in the country. But I don't know how much that would have made a difference because, the quarterback I knew was going to be difficult in the sense that if he really started moving around and running, he gave little showcases of what he could do if he wanted to. I think they wanted him to give the ball to the tailback, which is totally understandable. But I think the defensive line learned a lot about playing the game for 4 quarters. I'm sure that the defensive line coaches of USC that are quite accomplished were telling them the things that you and I would both go, that's right. But I don't know whether the players understood 4 quarters of that until they got humiliated in Illinois. Obviously, the bye week was perfect. It gave them a chance to kind of get back and reset in the way things should be. And they went out and immediately, I think it certainly helped that SC scored on their first drive, a long drive. It kept everybody excited. And the real test for me will be they're going to face a Notre Dame team that's got a pretty good offensive line and a great running back. And they
Two
need to
great
do,
running backs.
yeah, great running back, and plural. I think that they are going to be challenged. The question will be for us to be true believers at 100%. They've really got to give a good accounting for themselves in South Bend, and they'll have their opportunity to do so. And we'll know early on just where they're headed.
I mean, again, Notre Dame and Oregon are going to be major challenges for these guys. But Mark, the word had been that what you have to do to beat USC is just buckle the chin strap tight and just get after them.
Yep.
They are soft and they're weak and they're mentally fragile. And if you just get after them, big man on big man football, they cannot deal with it. And I guarantee that Michigan O-line and the Michigan running backs and the Michigan offensive coordinator and Sherrod Moore, every single one of those guys expected to line up and just drive it down their throats all game. And over again, over the last 10, 15 years, we've seen that happen to USC against the big physical teams, right? Against the helmets everybody recognizes, that's what happens. It did not happen Saturday, and not only did it not happen Saturday, but as the game went on both lines of scrimmage, it got more and more and more lopsided for the good guys. That's pretty great, isn't it? Tell me how good it made you feel. I just want to hear how good it made you feel.
You just puffed out my chest. That's how good I felt.
By the way, where did you get that shirt? That's a nice
great shirt. Isn't it awesome?
It's a very nice shirt.
Oh.
I got a stack of them in my closet right now.
Hey, I bought 2 of them off you. In fact, I might need another one, so I'll let you know.
All right.
So I went back and I looked at the stats from last year. Michigan ran the ball 55 times against USC's defense for 290 yards. Ran the ball 55 times. USC's defense in 2025 was on the field for 57 plays total. That's the difference between last year and this year. I mean, that's how impressive how well USC's defense played this game compared to last year. And the defensive line, like you said, they owned the line of scrimmage. We talked about it. If you want to win that game, you got to win in the trenches. Michigan thought they were going to come in, they were going to punch USC in the mouth, they were going to fold. LSU thought the same thing to open the season last year. USC was willing to get into that street fight. They won it. I think between what happened in Illinois, having to sit in that own stinky juice for 2 weeks, listening to everybody say, you know what, those guys just aren't going to get it done. They can't get it done. Same old USC. So they were looking forward to that challenge. I mean, they literally picked up USC's offense for those because you had the turnover when Lake McCree fumbled the ball. USC's defense stepped up. And then after the interception, Bishop Fitzgerald had the interception later down the other side of the field. So, yeah, the defensive line was causing plenty of chaos. They had, 5 tackles for loss. You had 3 sacks. This is a defensive line that was going up against Michigan's O-line. I don't know if it's going to be equal to or maybe slightly lesser than Notre Dame's. Notre Dame, they have some issues as well. They just lost their starting center. So if this defensive line that showed up Saturday in the Coliseum brings 90% of that to South Bend, because you're going to have some stuff going on, I'm going to feel pretty good. You can feel pretty damn good that they're giving their best effort. They're getting the job done. You stop Jeremiah Love. Is it Jermaine, whatever his first name is. Love is the running back. He's really good. Make the freshman quarterback beat you. That was the same game plan you had against Michigan. Let's see if CJ Carr can play better than Bryce Underwood.
Eric, some other guys that have been under fire in recent weeks. You had a linebacking core that was Eric Gentry and the Seven Dwarves. And and I was very tough on Desmond Stevens. I think rightfully so. I didn't think he'd played very well for the first half of the year. Those guys also. It was a very different group. Now, part of that may be that against Michigan, you were less concerned about the RPO, and it was more about get downhill and get to the running back. But look, that second line, those guys played. Eric Gentry did Eric Gentry things, but you had two other guys on the field, Walker and Stevens, who also played pretty darn well. I mean, that was a good performance for a couple of young guys that really needed a good performance.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting that the way USC lined up, a lot of times it had Eric Gentry like out playing nickel almost, like walked way out. And so my thought was that's like the one guy I'd want kind of in the mix there in the middle. And for Michigan, I think the rushing numbers that really stand out when Mark talked about the number of plays that they got to run last year. I mean, right, there's three that stand out. Like the three long ones that hit where some of it's defense, like it really was just a combination, right? The defensive line, the linebackers, like the gap was there both horizontally and vertically, and it didn't get filled, and then it was out. A couple tackles that didn't get made, whatever. 13 yards was Michigan's longest run. Only a couple of them over 10. Like nothing really got out. And I know, right, Justice Haynes was the guy, and he's hitting 5 yards a carry early. And does it look different if he has the full game? I think it still looks a lot like it did. Like the backup's not a nobody, right? Like so I think that's what stands out is that you had Desmond Stevens, who I think played his best game, like was involved in some stuff. And I think that's just that slow kind of maturation as you see more and more. And, that's one thing that stood out with Dan Lin when he talks about him is, yeah, he makes mistakes, but then that's really the one that you see on that. And then you don't see that type of mistake over and over and over and over. And I think that's kind of what you're seeing. Now, it's football, so there's a lot of plays. Like there's a lot of mistakes you can make based on kind of formations and who's doing what and all that sort of stuff. But it's very obvious. Like you started to see it at Illinois. Oh, there's a play. There's a play. It wasn't 100% perfect. In Michigan, there were more. There's a play. There's a play. Like he had a series with back to back, or I guess it was he had a tackle and then a nice like open field on Bryce Underwood tackle on third down. And then Jay Walker just play. I mean, that dude plays like his whole uniform's on fire. Like he is running around and hitting people. Again, there was something that, kind of a misstep and got on the wrong side of a guy and opened it up a little bit. You're gonna have those things. But I think against Notre Dame, that's another team where you're probably gonna see more three linebacker look. Even though I think I think CJ Cron can throw it a little bit better, but
Yeah.
I don't think he's a massive upgrade. And you still have with Love and Price, like you still have the two running backs that you have to stop first because those guys can't be right. Those guys, if those guys go for 250, it doesn't matter what you do in the passing game. Like that, those are the two guys you need to stop first.
And then we have the secondary. And Greg, the secondary against Illinois. I'm not even going to say I'm not going to say it because they played so well Saturday. I don't want to hang that around their necks. It was bad. It was about as bad as you'll ever see against Illinois. And I thought, I mean, I know Ramsey is out, but well, with Kamari Ramsey back in, with a healthy DeCarlos Nicholson, he didn't have to run off the field every couple of plays, and maybe a maturing Marcellus Williams, and Bishop, who now leads the nation in interceptions. The secondary looked good. I don't know that that's a secondary that I trust to handle, say, Oregon's passing attack. I don't know that I do yet. But it's a secondary that was competent, and other than one really big mistake where they give up the long touchdown pass, they not only kept guys in front, because there have been a lot of games where they kept guys in front, like 10, 12 yards in front with giant cushions. But they not only kept guys in front, but they were challenging receivers. They were coming up and making tackles and in the open field. They looked pretty good. That was a week where we had a complete turnaround in the secondary also, Greg. What did we see?
Well, I think as we all know, we saw a better front four from SC applying the pressure. And you had a young quarterback, as talented as he is as an athlete, very physical. I don't think that, well, the long touchdown that Michigan had late in the game was, to me, very disappointing because the angle taken was ridiculous. That it wasn't so much a great play by the receiver as it was blown coverage and being able to make a tackle. So let's just hope that they learn from that and it doesn't happen against the Irish. But for the most part, they did what they needed to do. They didn't have a lot of huge mistakes except for that long pass. But then they're going to face a Notre Dame team, and I know we'll get into this, that the quarterback is going to be better than Underwood because he's a redshirt freshman, CJ Carr. And so they will be tested because Notre Dame can bring it on the ground, no question about that. We'll see how they handle the whole situation, that they don't revert to Illinois, but they are able to at least have the same type of effort without any big mistakes, they made against, Michigan. So I was pleased with their performance, what they had to defend for sure.
And guys, that was a nice atmosphere at the Coliseum. The Coliseum is not a place that is going to be as loud as, LSU at a night game. That's not LA. It's not USC. But that was a pretty great atmosphere. Not only do you have a big crowd, but you had a crowd that was involved and fun, right? That was, there are times you go to the Coliseum, especially when USC isn't playing very well, and you can hear somebody talking on the other side of the stadium. This was a game where the fans acted like they cared about the outcome, and they were vocal, and it was energetic. It was a good time. That was a good time. I don't know if it's the best crowd I've ever seen at a USC game. I don't think it is, but it's the best one we've seen in at least a couple of years.
I think the big thing is the amount of Michigan people that were there basically set out a challenge to the SC people that were there and said, you know what, we're the visiting team and we're trying to turn it into a 50-50 split in the Coliseum. And I think SC got into it early as a team, and the fans kind of came along, and the fans became more, no, they're not going to blow us out, or they're not going to control it. And the team gave the fans a reason to keep up the energy. I mean, I give SC a lot of credit. They've kind of involved a public address announcer and saying a few things to keep them going. And, the DJ wasn't there again, and I'm not blaming the DJ. He does for what he was asked to do, he does a good job. But I think this was kind of like a football crowd that did what they were supposed to do in rooting for the home team, and it became a battle between the Michigan fans and the SC fans. And nothing to me was more exciting at the very end is when the SC fans started going, "We are SC." I mean, we could hear it in the press box loud and clear. They kept going. There was intensity of it, and it really brought back wonderful memories of when SC is really dominant and the fans start doing that. It really sets an emotional high. At least it does for me, and it must have for the fans because they were doing it. And I hope that can be said at some level at Notre Dame.
Mark, I thought that this was not only a football team and a football coaching staff, but a fan base that kind of went into that game a little desperate. I think everybody understood what was at stake, that if USC gets pushed around by Michigan, now you're at 4-2, you still have to go to South Bend, you still have to go to Oregon, you have an away game at Nebraska, you have Iowa coming in, and you look at the schedule and you think, man, if we get pushed around by these guys, this could be 7-5 again. And I think everybody recognized that. That seemed like a crowd that understood what was at stake. That was my impression. What do you think, Mark?
No, they did. They understood that this was a tipping point game. USC wins, the crowd's going to be back for their next home game, and I guarantee you, the crowd will be there for that next home game, especially if they come home with a win from South Bend. There was nothing that really disappointed me about the way that the crowd was into the game, except for two things, and I do have to get it off my chest. You know, we talked about it during the tailgate, and I said to Eric and I said to Greg in the press box, I'm going to keep an eye on those seats on the tower side of the stadium. And there was just way too much maize and blue in the expensive seats. We're talking about committee members, scholarship level, donors. These are people who can actually afford to spend the $25,000 or whatever just for the right to buy the season tickets. So I'm not telling people how to spend their money, but there is no reason why those tickets should be ending up in Michigan fans' hands. That really disappointed me, that the people who, they care enough to fund the program, if you're not going to go to the game, put those tickets in somebody's hands that's going to wear cardinal and gold. You shouldn't be handing out gold towels to kind of, fill in the checkerboard so it doesn't look like it's all Michigan fans. The other thing that I was like, you know what, enough of this. At the end of the game, it was great. You had the WeAreSC chant going. But there was a handful of people who, gave a half-assed effort of rushing the field. Don't do that. Don't rush the field. You beat the number 15 team in the country, a conference foe. This isn't like you're coming off a 13-game winless streak against Notre Dame where it's acceptable.
Yeah.
Come on, don't do that.
I agree.
Never for Trojan fans.
I agree. I was disappointed when I saw Eric charging the field at the end. Okay, let's yeah. All right, let's turn the page a little bit. And obviously they've come up multiple times already, but let's talk about this matchup, because this feels like another enormous matchup in the sense that, look, USC could play well and lose a close game in South Bend, and it doesn't destroy the recruiting class. It doesn't destroy the season. Okay, it doesn't. But a win in this game puts you at 6-1. It gives you one of the best wins that anybody will have had this year. It gives you two really impressive scalps in back-to-back weeks. It really sets you up for a legitimate run of the playoffs. This is a huge game. Eric, I'm going to start with you on this. If you ask me after the Illinois game, what's the likelihood that USC goes into South Bend and gets a win, I would have put it at about 5%. What's the number now?
That's why you didn't rush the field after Michigan, Chris. You're just not a believer. So it's always at South Bend, right? That's huge. That's huge. Bad Notre Dame teams beat pretty good USC teams at South Bend. So if I say it's 30%, I don't think that Notre Dame is whatever that percentage is better than USC. But that's a big fight. It's a big fight to go win out there.
Yep.
I would have said 5 too.
Yeah.
I would have said 5 after Illinois. So if I'm at 30 now, when I go out there, I think SC's got a shot. I think they've got a shot. I didn't think they had a shot. It would have taken a lot to really believe in it 2 weeks ago. I think they got a shot. I think they could play with them on both lines. I think the Notre Dame offensive line probably better than Michigan, but I don't know. Joe Alt's not there. Right? Blake Fisher's not there. Those guys aren't there anymore. And now they've got a handful of days to figure out that center position. It's not the offensive line that I think Notre Dame fans would want, having seen what the USC defensive line in front just did to Michigan. I think they would have felt a lot better had Michigan run for 200, 220, 250 yards against USC. And so I think USC has 2 lines that they can go take to Notre Dame and go play with them. I think absolutely they can go play with this Notre Dame team.
Mark, if this game is being played on a neutral field, I think it's a pick'em.
Yep.
When you're playing in Notre Dame, and look, we've all watched a lot of USC games in South Bend. And I saw Caleb Williams melt down there. I saw Sam Darnold melt down there. I've seen a lot of USC quarterbacks melt down. I've seen a lot of USC offensive lines melt down there. That's still a possibility, right? That's why Eric is hedging his bets. He's got the green shirt on. He doesn't know how this one's going to go. Whichever way it goes, he wants to be able to say, that was my guys. Okay, that being said, I don't think this USC team is going to melt down. I think they feel that they can go toe-to-toe with the Irish on the line of scrimmage. And you know what? I think they're right. I think this can be an even matchup on the line of scrimmage. What do you think?
No, you basically gave my answer. Vegas has Notre Dame open what, an 8.5-point favorite? I don't know if the line,
nonsense.
Yeah, I don't know if the line's moved at all or not. And again, that doesn't matter. But right now, I would give USC a 50-50 shot at winning this game because of the way they handled the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball against Michigan. I get it. It's in South Bend. You never get the calls there. Strange stuff happens there all the time. They can't grow the grass long anymore, so we can remove that obstacle. But something usually happens. Now, if Jaden Mayava can just stay in neutral, not have that type of brain fart type of pick that he had against Michigan last week, I think USC is going to be okay. Makai Lemon, keep your cool. Don't get any unsportsmanlike conduct penalties when you don't need one. But if this team plays with the same type of aggression, the same type of discipline that they showed against Michigan, yeah, it's going to be a really fun game. And I might actually finally leave South Bend with a victory in hand. I've never seen USC beat Notre Dame in person at Notre Dame. I want to see hopefully it's not the last game of the series either, but I want USC carrying that Jules Shillelagh back to LA.
We won the first 4 or 5 times I went out there.
Yeah, well,
and since then it's been a parade of horrors. Greg, in a game like this, playing on the road against a good opponent in very difficult circumstances, and Mark is right, it's not just that the crowd is loud, because there are a lot of loud crowds. It's that crazy things happen. First of all, the officials will cheat. They will cheat consistently Saturday for the Irish. It's happened for years. It's not going to change. You're playing 11 on 18. That's just the way it is. We know that. But I've also seen crazy things happen. I've seen the wind just shift in the middle of the game for no good reason. Crazy things happen. You have to be 10 points better than Notre Dame to beat them at their place. What does USC have to do to pull it off?
Just like almost every big game, they can't have any turnovers. They have to make touchdowns aside from field goals. I think that's important. They need to get a lead early, like they did against Michigan. That'll kind of silence the crowd in a hurry. And they need to, at the most thing they have to do, besides play to their best of ability, is keep their poise and keep their compassion and realize the game is a game within the game mentally. Kevin Bruce, our late, wonderful WeAreSC writer who played in a number of them, told me there is no more physical game that he's played in than when he played against Notre Dame. He says Ohio State was pretty close, in one of the Rose Bowls. But he says there's something about Notre Dame and SC, although they respect each other, they really don't like each other. And the point is when you play them for SC to win, they have to be playing at 100%. You can't expect Notre Dame to fumble all over the place or throw interceptions. You can't expect, as you pointed out, justifiably, to get the breaks through officiating. It generally doesn't happen. But you got to keep your poise. And again, I'll say this, and I know a lot of people are sick of hearing me say it, but Lincoln Riley, will you please take your team to Notre Dame Stadium and let them kind of look around and walk around a little bit and get used to it before the fans are there? Because I can tell you firsthand, I've been in that stadium a number of times when there's been nobody in it, and it is really awesome. It is really intimidating. It's just, this is the real Notre Dame Stadium. This is Rudy, this is Newt Rockne, it's everything. And to play there and play well, you have to so concentrate on forgetting about that it is one of those things where every single play is important. Every single, when you call a timeout, how you use the clock. And I'm throwing in Lincoln Riley in this. He's got to coach as good a game as he's capable of coaching. He did a good job against Michigan, and he deserves all the credit for that. But when you go back to Notre Dame, you can't have any clock time management issues. You've got to play as well as your team can play, and then you stand a good chance. I don't think it's my feeling is, if I had to do a percentage basis on it, just right now, out of what I know and having been there, I'd say Notre Dame 60-40%. But I will say that every time SC is right there per quarter, that 40% is going to go up 10%. They're in the game at the second quarter. It's probably 55-45 or in that thing. SC goes into halftime and they're right there. If they're right there the rest of the way, they stand a great shot of winning if they can keep their poise.
So I just checked the weather for Saturday, just because we were talking about strange things.
Rain.
70% chance of rain, South Bend.
Oh, shocking. Shocking.
So do
We'll
we
see,
want to,
right?
want to adjust our percentages right now? Anyone?
We'll see. We didn't go to Illinois thinking there'd be lightning storms. I mean, it's others, it's so many days away at this point in the Midwest. You're gonna get 17 different, weather guesses at what it'll be. Now, is it gonna rain? Probably. Probably.
All right.
But
I
don't
think rain's a problem for USC.
I have in my hand the weather report. It says for Saturday, 70% chance of rain, high of 70,
Yeah.
low of 58.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee you at 7:30, if it's if it's raining, it's going to be windy, and it's going to be, quote, the type of day that a journalist would love to write about in the first paragraph. The four horsemen were looking down and they were forcing the rain down, and SC came back, and it has all the elements of a real challenge. Let's put it that way. If it really is going to be 70% rain at 7:30 at night.
You should have good footing because it's no longer natural turf. It's not going to be muddy. You should have good footing. They have towels. They can keep the football dry. I'm not as worried about the rain for the players. I'm more worried about it for me. I don't want to sit in the rain for 4 hours. But Eric, let's start with the USC offense against the Notre Dame defense. Let's put aside the fact that you're going to have to deal with the crowd, and that's a problem for an offensive line, right? It is, and that when you're in adverse circumstances, your guys sometimes can lose their composure. We know that can happen. Let's just put that aside for a second. USC's offense is substantially better than Notre Dame's defense, isn't it?
I think so. Notre Dame's going to come in with the same kind of rushing numbers that the Michigan defense came in with, and I don't think I totally believe them as much as like the Michigan one, right? Like, I think USC can run against them. I'm not gonna pick 225 yards on the ground against them. But 150, 160, like in that area where you can still keep your offense going and be fine. Look, the biggest thing for me is Xavier Watts is not on that team anymore. He can't ruin any more games. He can't play. There's no eligibility. Not going to pick anything off and run it 170 yards for a touchdown. So,
Thank you.
right, Leonard Moore can play corner. You stay away from him. He's Will Johnson last year at Michigan. Don't let him make a big play. Don't let him make a big play. There he goes into the end zone with the ball. Like that's it. Don't let him make a big play. I think you can hold up against the pass rush. I think you can run against them okay. I think you just run your offense. The USC's bringing an offense in that has some power running, they break tackles, and they have two tight ends that are a problem for you. They're not going to go Tyler Warren and catch 14 passes, but they're going to catch 4 or 5 big ones that make it really hard because you don't know when they're coming and you have to guard for it all the time. And then Mekhi Lemon is going off and then they're running because they're really good in the run game too. So USC is going to bring a balanced offense. And I don't really care how good your defense is. Like, there's confidence in there that they're going to do something. 31 points on the road. I don't know, but they're going to move the ball a bit.
Notre Dame is not, it's not a defense that has a lot of great pass rushers. They've got one guy that's pretty good. He has 5.5 sacks halfway through the season, but they have 15 as a team. They don't pressure the quarterback particularly well. USC's done a pretty good job of protecting Mayava. Notre Dame's corner is going to challenge USC in a way that Michigan's corners were not willing to do, right? And so Mayava is going to be in a position where it's more feast or famine. He's not going to be able to pick up 12 yards every second 8 because the corners are not going to be sitting that far off. I don't think. I think they're going to get up and challenge USC. I also think that means there's a chance for some big plays in the passing game. Notre Dame secondary is decent. They have one corner that's very good. I still like Mekhi Lemon's chances of beating him because I like Mekhi Lemon's chances of beating everybody. So if USC can run the ball and stay balanced, it just comes down to turnovers, doesn't it, Mark? I mean, what we've seen from USC all this year, and frankly, most of Lincoln Riley's tenure, except for last year, which was, an abomination for so long on offense, is if USC doesn't turn the ball over, they're going to have somewhere between 460 and 560 yards of offense, and they're going to score points. Yep. That's what happens if they don't turn it over and if they don't have 6 holding penalties. Yes?
I was going to say, no turnovers, keep your penalties at a minimum like they've been doing. In fact, there were no penalties on the defense last week, which is amazing. But, without having any turnovers, you also don't want to be punting the ball all the time either. So, Michigan they had the 2 interceptions, but I think, Eric, you showed it to me that their drives were punt, touchdown, punt, and it was just, they weren't doing anything. So that's not a good sign if USC isn't turning the ball over, but they're getting a lot of 3 and outs or a lot of, they're not sustaining their offensive drive. So we know they need to score touchdowns. Everything can't end at a field goal. Yeah. Control what you could control. Play disciplined football. Don't turn it over. Limit your penalties, especially, 15-yarders of any kind on either side of the ball. And USC has enough talent on this roster that Lincoln Riley can scheme something up on offense, even with a limited running back room, and make stuff happen. Because I think defensively, USC is going to be fine. I think they'll be okay. They are not. If USC's defense can do it 2 games in a row, I think everybody's going to be sold. Everyone's going to buy it. Everyone will know, all right, we got to deal with USC. They might be back because they handled the 2 most physical teams back-to-back weeks, one at home, one on the road.
So, Greg, Mark feels comfortable that the USC defense is going to be fine. I feel more confident about the USC's offense at this point. I think that offensive line is good enough, and that Notre Dame's defensive line they're good, but they're not spectacular. That USC is going to have time to run their offense, and Lincoln Riley is going to be clever enough to get people in space. Notre Dame's offensive line has not been as good as they were supposed to be this year. That's the truth. They've struggled in short yardage. The right side of their line has been a problem in some of their bigger games. They're now without their center. But those 2 running backs are so good. And I got to say, the redshirt freshman quarterback, I think he's pretty good. That Notre Dame offense still scares me. What does USC defensively have to do to avoid getting in a track meet where it's in the mid-30s and you have to score on your last possession to win?
Boy, that's an excellent question. They have to make sure that if they lose, They lose because C.J. Carr, the quarterback, has a fantastic day because they have held, I don't know if you can even say hold those running backs. They're just too good. They're NFL running backs, in my opinion. So they don't make a mockery of it all. I think when you look at it and you take a step away and you look at any big football game, I think Notre Dame is going to now won't want SC to have the ball because they can score and they can really do it in a hurry sometimes. A guy like Jacoby Lane could have a big game. I know he's been hurt, but now he's getting better. But I think Notre Dame is going to say we want a ball control SC, and they run the ball. And if they can keep the SC offense off the field by controlling the run and getting pickups, so it's always 3rd and 3 or stuff like that, then they stand a strong chance. I will say this. If SC can come away with the victory against Notre Dame, I don't care if it's by 1 point, just get the victory. I think my confidence in this team will grow substantially because they will all see the light at the end of the tunnel. They have a bye week after this Notre Dame game. They can get all the, hey, we're really good feelings out. But then they're going to go to Lincoln, Nebraska, and Nebraska could be 6-1 or 7-1. Who knows what their record is going to be? And they're going to be sitting just like SC going, we could make the playoffs. So that's going to be a big game. But I think if SC can get by Notre Dame, I really do like our chances. Oregon would be a tough game no matter what your chances are. I get that. And, Oregon could move up in the rankings if they continue to win and they don't have really a horrible loss at Autzen Stadium. That's a horrible loss for them. So my feeling is SC, control the ball, score, don't give up any long runs, don't get burned with bad pass plays from Carr, and you can be right there. And I'll tell you what, who could end up being the hero out of all this? Is SC's place kicker. He could be the difference. If you can hit a 54-yard field goal or whatever in the Coliseum, you definitely could do it at Notre Dame. Now, I have to say this. I did because I have no patience whatsoever when it comes to weather. I checked on what the weather would be at kickoff at Notre Dame, and it said it will be raining and 63 degrees. And it just continued to rain. So, you know what? That's just part of football. I don't think Notre Dame has a great advantage by that. I think, especially on a field like they have, it's not grass, and they didn't let it grow for 6 years, and the stem of the grass is at your forehead. So I like SC to be able to beat Notre Dame. I don't think I would have said that 3 weeks ago, to be honest with you, but they got a real shot. It's how they handle it.
That's how I see it. They have a shot. They have a shot to win this game, and winning this game really sets USC up nicely. If they win this one, Autzen going to be tough no matter what. But if you win this one, you have a pretty good chance to go 10-2 and get yourself in the playoff. That's
Exactly.
what's on the line. Do I think USC's an underdog? Yeah, but they're a live underdog. If they play smart and avoid turnovers and make Notre Dame earn their scores, they win this game. All right, Eric, since you got the Notre Dame shirt on, you get to pick first. Are you ready? What's going to happen Saturday?
No, look, I'm not going to sit here and pick Notre Dame to win. I can't do it. I can't say it. I think if you played this game 100 times, that Notre Dame would win more than 50 times. I think that's true. They're going to play it one time. They're going to play it on Saturday. They're going to play it a week after USC played the way it did against Michigan. Now, I'm curious, right? I'm curious if USC can use that game to say truly believe that's not as good as we can play better, or we did it, we figured it out. We figured out how to be physical, and now we're just going to go do the same thing. Because if you think that way, Notre Dame's going to be better than you expect, and they're going to push you around. So they still can find that chip on their shoulder, and they can go in there and truly play how they played against Michigan. I think they've got a shot. And I think no matter what, it's going to be close. Like 28-27, kind of close for USC.
Mark Culkin,
Yeah.
let's hear it.
So I predicted USC 31, Michigan 27.
You were wrong. You were
I-
wrong, is what you.
I
I'm
was
sorry,
wrong.
Chris. I didn't hear what you said. Mark was wrong.
I
That's what I
was.
said.
Michigan. I gave Michigan too many points. I'm going to go with the same type of score prediction. I think it's going to be a similar type of game. I really do. As we got closer to that Michigan game, I think we were all saying it's either going to be a really close game or it's going to end up USC in a blowout. And it ended up being USC in a blowout. I'm not making that prediction for this game. It's because it's in South Bend. We just got done talking about it. Crazy stuff happens. This is not the, USC's beating Notre Dame by 31 points 3 years in a row or whatever that streak was. However, it's time to end the losing streak in South Bend. I think it happens this time. And I think USC has enough on defense. That defensive line is starting to gel. As long as they don't get food poisoning, they'll be okay. I mean, we're not even relying on Keyshawn Silver or Jamal Jarrett. What USC did against Michigan, they did with Devin Tompkins, Jade Abasiri, Thanos. I mean, he's not playing defensive end anymore. He's inside. He was lined up over the ball. If you're trusting an 18-year-old to do that to Michigan, you can trust him to do it against Notre Dame.
He doesn't have any reason to believe that Notre Dame is better than him.
Right.
Right?
He doesn't know any better.
He doesn't have any reason to believe
better.
Okay, Greg Katz.
Yes, sir.
You are either the realist of this group or you're the old man screaming at clouds, depending on who you ask.
I understand completely.
What's going to happen?
Well, my head and my heart are believed separately. My head says that Notre Dame should win the game. My head says that. And probably because I've been there enough times to sit there and know what you're up against. My heart, however, believes that SC can win the game. I'm going to side with my heart. I'm going to say USC, if they don't, I can't use the word, it's not a nice word, but it begins with the letter F. If SC doesn't mess up with turnovers and those sort of things, I think that SC could win 38-31, and possibly if the defense does play its best game of the year, it could be 38-27 or 28, because I think that each quarter that SC plays and they're in the game, they're going to sit there and say, not just we can beat them, they're going to say, we really can beat them. And I think that's what happened in the Michigan game. We can beat them. The first drive obviously set the tone. But I think as each quarter went by in the Michigan game, they went, we can really beat this team. We can really do it if we don't make big mistakes. And the one big mistake they made was too late for Michigan. They couldn't get in it. So my feeling is SC plays the best game of their year beyond Michigan, which I think they're capable of doing. SC will win the game, and there's nothing better. If you have a bucket list and you said, I always wanted to go to Notre Dame, it lives up to everything that you dreamed about. Chicago, pep rallies at the Navy Pier, eating at a great restaurant, driving through the Indiana Tollway, yada, yada, yada. The campus is alive. Get there early. Watch Notre Dame do its, humiliation theme on, beat the Trojans. And they march in. It's really spectacular. When both teams get off the bus, or an SC gets off the bus, Notre Dame marches in from close to the library. It's really, really intense. You feel like you just want to suit up and just be a part of it and run out on the field. And then when the whole thing starts, I know all of you guys will know this. When you can look out from Notre Dame Stadium and you see the Golden Dome and touchdown Jesus, it is so invigorating. but there's nothing like when SC beats Notre Dame at Notre Dame. Those Notre Dame fans just don't like that one bit. I never heard them become obnoxious until the Bush push. After that game, they were cussing like like you couldn't believe on that.
80,000 sailors is what that was. I
Yes,
remember.
sir. Yes, sir. And I tell you what, it was amazing that they had that ability to show that type of anger. So I hope they're showing that type of anger on Saturday night.
Greg brought up the Bush game, 20-year anniversary. I was sitting in that end zone on 3rd and 19 and on 4th and 9, and I've never been in a stadium like that in my life. That old concrete was shaking, and Notre Dame thought they had us. Man, they wanted that so bad.
Yes, they did.
USC had been humiliating them. USC was on top of the world, and they thought they had us. And you know what? I thought so too on 3rd and 19. This USC team believes in themselves right now. They heard from everybody for 2 weeks that they're soft, they're not physical, Michigan's tough. They went out there and they beat up on Michigan, and I think they learned something important about themselves. They learned that the key to being a great team, the key to being a great program, the key to making the playoffs, which is what these guys really want to do, comes down to punching the other guy in the mouth over and over again. I think USC believes they can do that to Notre Dame, and you know what? I believe it too. I don't think that Notre Dame defensive line is as good as some of the ones they've had in the past. They have some struggles up front offensively and a brand new center that's barely played. I think USC wins the battle in the trenches, and I think they win the game. I'm with Eric. If you look at it dispassionately, which I most certainly will not do, Notre Dame has a better than 50% chance of winning this game. But things that have a 35, 40, 45% likelihood of happening happen all the darn time. Tony Gwynn hit 328 for his career. It seemed like he was getting hits over and over and over again. USC has at least a 32.8% chance of winning this game. I think the Trojans get it done, and I think they change the whole trajectory of this program in a 2-week span. And I can't wait to watch it. I love watching a game in South Bend. It's extraordinary. Part of the reason I get so mad at you USC fans that are okay with ending the series. I'm not okay with ending the series. I want to win at that place over and over and over again until I die. It's one of the greatest things in the world. They're going to get it done. They're going to get it done Saturday. They're going to play smart. They're going to play well, and they're going to punch Notre Dame in the mouth. USC 38, Notre Dame 31. Let's enjoy it, guys. It's nothing quite like USC, Notre Dame, and South Bend.
Eric's ready.
Eric is ready.
Can't wait. I can't wait till they break out the green jerseys and copy me. I did it first. You can't do it.
The McKinney household.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for joining us. We're going to be real happy next week or really sad. Either way, we'll see you about 7 days from now. Fight on, everybody.